All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows, and if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, it is sincerely appreciated. Plus, also as well, our good friends at Lakerholics.com, and of course, all the shows that you can catch right now at the Hoopheads Podcast Network and support one of their kind of latest sponsors, Manscaped, because Manscaped.com is working out a deal with the Hoopheads Podcast Network for a limited time only, and you can get a 20% discount on anything at Manscaped.com, plus free shipping with the code FASTBREAK, all one word. That's FastBreak at Manscaped.com. Well, all right. Backs up against the wall. Not looking good right now for the Lakers as we head into Game 6, but we're going to keep hopeful that everything is going to come out okay for LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the rest of the Los Angeles Lakers. And here today is a fellow diehard Lakers fan and a good friend of mine and a guy who wanted to come back on this show. And just so appreciated that he wants to come back on the show and talk to me, because I know I bore some people to death, and that's always a bad thing. But I'm glad to have him back. He's a good man indeed. You got to catch him first on Twitter, because he needs to get 1,000 followers by draft night. That's his goal, and we got to help him get there. It is at report_court. That's at report_court. It is Stone Hansen from DraftSite.com, and who's also the co-host of the UpsideSwings podcast. If you haven't caught it yet, it's a great podcast that you got to check out if you are an NBA draft aficionado, wherever you get your podcasts. It is Stone Hansen. And Stone, great to have you back, my friend. I'm sorry. I wish it was under better circumstances, but at least you will be part of the 300th episode extravaganza.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be part of that extravaganza. I wish the Lakers were doing everything to win as a part of that extravaganza, but not so.
Not so right now yet, but we will wait and see what happens. Again, a lot is reliant right now on the health of Anthony Davis. So we'll see that happens. The backs are up against the wall. There is no room or no margin for error at this point in time. So we'll see if the Lakers can pull it out for the rest of the season. Do you have any thoughts on it before we get into some other stuff in regards to what's going on in the NBA with the latest on the Celtics, which is always kind of funny to see when some bad things happen to the Celtics. As Lakers fans, we always like that. And also the NBA draft. But do you have any thoughts on what's going on with the Lakers and what maybe they can do to do a quick fix on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really dependent upon health at this point. Without Anthony Davis, it's pretty grim days in LA. I think the Suns kind of figured out their game plan by blocking off LeBron in the paint. And without Anthony Davis to sort of negate that on the other end, it's really difficult for them. So I think it all hinges on Anthony Davis at this point.
I agree with you on that. I mean, it's pretty easy to see that Anthony Davis changes the dynamic of the whole series. I mean, when it's another situation, when he left, they were only down by one, and probably would have taken that home game in Game 4 and probably would have gone ahead and won the series off like that. No question about it. But without him in the lineup, it seems like it's easy pickings for the Suns. And with LeBron James trying to do everything himself in a limited fashion because the high ankle sprain still bothering him, and yet you could tell it's going to be tough for the Lakers to go ahead and pull this out. But again, AD is still questionable as of this recording, so we'll see what happens. He could come back, and the Lakers could prevail. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the series. But there's another organization that's experiencing even more trouble than the Lakers right now, and that is the Boston Celtics, something that I could see coming in quite a bit of ways away. And I had said that, Danny Ainge, in regards to the way he's handled the front office over the past few years, hit on a couple good picks, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and obviously that's a cornerstone to build around, but he's had the advantage of having an extraordinary amount of picks over the past few years, and there's been some times where he could have pulled off trades that would have gotten the team in a better position, could have kept some players that could have also put him in a better position, but chose not to do that as well. And his poor decisions has led to the Celtics being ousted rather easily in the first round against the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And this has led to him, I guess, contemplating retirement and ultimately deciding to retire today and moving around as far as that's concerned. So I want to hear your thoughts on Danny Ainge leaving. Does this surprise you? Do you think this is more off performance, or do you think this is something that a lot of pressure maybe from ownership and putting Brad Stevens in charge of the future of the direction of the franchise going forward?
Yeah, I think the timing is more surprising than anything. Having just being exited out of the playoffs, maybe they would have thought this over a little bit longer towards more of the off season. But I guess it's a good play to do it now, so they have everything in place to have a good off season, hopefully for them. I think a lot of people were kind of expecting this at some point, just because Danny Ainge has faltered at some of those bigger moves, hasn't pulled the trigger, and sort of maximized the roster around Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, guys who are still young but are ready to contribute now. And I don't think he's really done the most that he could to put the best roster around those two guys. Brad Stevens is interesting. I think he's shown on the court his IQ with basketball. He's a really smart basketball mind. So I have pretty high hopes for him in terms of being the president of basketball operations over there. I think he's someone who understands probably he's more in tune, I would say, maybe with players, able to connect with them easier and better. Obviously, Danny Ainge had some comments that rubbed people the wrong way last week. So I think some of that may have played a part into the organization pressuring him out. It's hard to say without any intel or anything, but yeah, it's interesting. I guess the move now is looking towards who's going to be their head coach to replace Brad Stevens. So there's a lot of names out there, and it should be interesting.
Plus also what changes they need to make to the roster, because I think some drastic moves need to be made in regards to that. I think a team that once found itself just a game away from the NBA Finals has fallen on hard times. So we'll see what happens there. And again, obviously getting Jaylen Brown back to health is a big thing for them. But yes, this is something that, if you were on the inside, or at least you could see from the outside, you could see coming, because, you just the amount of picks they had over the years. I mean, they had at one time I don't want to say an Oklahoma City treasure trove, but it was more substantial at one time than anybody else in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. They had a lot of picks, and a lot of juicy picks too, high up there, and they probably could have done a lot more with them, but instead they're stuck with this team. Not that it's a bad team to be stuck with per se, because they have some building blocks with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You still have Kemba Walker, however the league values him at this point. Marcus Smart's still a really big asset, so they still have some pieces there. It's not like they're totally barren in terms of assets, but there's some work to be done in Boston if they want to go back to contention.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot more that needs to be done there, but it's going to be interesting to see. In fact, I want to dedicate shows to what the other teams around the league are going to be doing over the course of the summer. Hopefully, it's going to be farther in the distance away, because the Lakers hopefully will come back and win, so we can focus more on that, but we'll have to wait and see. Once again, I've got Stone Hansen. You got to check out what he does at draftsite.com with his amazing mock drafts. I know it's coming to that season, my friend. I know Michael Weisenberg, also a great guest of this show, and of course, my good friend as well, Mr. Rafael Barlow, who he's probably somewhere on planet Earth right now preparing for the draft because he's one place, and then he's in another, and then he's in another, and then he's in another. But he's also doing his show, the Locked On NBA Draft Podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I check all you guys out on all the great stuff you do. But it is the NBA Draft. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and I've got actually a top 30 in place myself. I'm thinking about whether or not to debut it before or after the lottery, or just go ahead and do that. So I've got it ready, but I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about who you've got right now, and that's for draftsite.com. And I see what's going on with your mock draft, and I want to ask you this. Davion Mitchell, I'll start off with him before we get into some surprises or who's rising up the chart. Davion Mitchell seems to be someone that initially, when Baylor won its national championship, he skyrocketed. And he skyrocketed. I saw him all over the place in top 7, top 6, top 7 right there for you, right behind Jonathan Kuminga. And it seems in recent weeks he has fallen a little bit. He's still a lottery per se, but he's fallen to around the 9 to 12 to 13 spot. So I want to hear your thoughts on why that could be. Have a lot of experts such as yourself taken a second look at him? Are you hearing this intel from scouts, NBA scouts, that are saying, whoa, maybe he doesn't have as much potential. Maybe he's, maybe some other players have risen up really sharply ahead of him. I want to hear your thoughts on Davion Mitchell, again, coming off that extreme high of the NCAA championship.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, just that initial NCAA championship bump probably played a part in him moving up boards. That seems to happen pretty much every year. Guys that win the championship, they see a slight increase in their stock, their draft stock. After that sort of high fizzles out, and then guys tend to drop a little bit. Davion Mitchell is someone I personally was never that high on. At least having him in the 6-7 range or anything like that. Right now, he's probably slated, like you said, to go in the back half of the lottery in that maybe 9 to 14 range, maybe even a little bit after, depending on where the picks fall and who's picking where. I think, he's someone that also age probably plays a factor in it too. A lot of lottery teams tend to go for youth and upside, and Davion Mitchell, although some people may view him having some upside at his age, there's probably a little bit more concern with that. How much higher of a draft stock can he get at age 22? How much potential is really there? So questions like that start to play a part for teams. It's a pretty heavy guard draft too, so it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, because there's players like Josh Giddey that have risen as well. So teams that are in need of guards, maybe obviously much different players, but both in that guard position. Teams that are looking for that guard may start to have him slip down a little bit just because there's other guys with higher upside.
Now, what are your thoughts on Josh Giddey? I mean, at first, people were really buying into his passing skills and the way he could coordinate on the floor. Plus, he has great size for someone who people project is playing the point guard. Although I'm not 100% convinced that he's going to be able to succeed as a point guard at the next level. He is 6'8". He is a little bit higher on your list now. I think he's actually right in the range, right at the beginning where people project him at, in the 12 to 20 range. I've got him closer to the 18-19 area personally, because I think that there's some question marks for me in regards to his shot, his athleticism, and it's more than what I had on Luka. Luka, I could see, there are people talking about his athleticism, his speed, could he do it, whatnot, but I just thought that he had a more commanding presence when he was playing, and the footage that I had seen for quite a bit before he was drafted. So I know people are trying to relate some of his game to him. I don't see as much of that as I do, and that's why I think I've probably seen him a little bit lower than you do. But I want to hear your thoughts on Josh Giddey. Do you think he can go ahead and succeed at that level?
Yeah, with Josh Giddey, I have him slated at number 12 on my mock draft. On my own big board, I would have him probably in the 15 to 18 range, somewhere in there. Um,
You think people are going to buy into hype? You think these teams are going to buy into the hype?
I do. Guys with elite passing, such as Giddey, and at his size, are pretty rare. So that combination alone is going to get him a lot of looks higher up, I think. The probably biggest difference between him and Luka is obviously just the success they had at levels before the NBA. Like Luka was already a EuroLeague MVP at age 18,
Yeah.
so he had already won 2 EuroLeague championships. So the success level there, just in terms of what they had accomplished before making the NBA, was a pretty massive difference and indicator, I think. The other difference probably being the shooting. Luka was already like a polished and just great shot maker already at that age, where Giddey has a lot of concern shooting wise. As elite as a passer as he is, and he is, and that size really helps create advantages for him. But the shooting has a lot of concerns. I personally buy into it as being at least serviceable at the next level. A guy who can maybe be a 35% type shooter on decent volume. But shooting and defense, which is weird considering his size, but defense is also a concern for a lot of people. He moves very slowly, and he probably has some more strength to gain. He has a good frame for that, though. So there's questions with Giddey. That's probably why I'm not as high on him as NBA teams I would expect to be are. But there's definitely a lot of intrigue there. In elite passing and in that size, that combination doesn't really come around too often.
International wise, I still want to stick with one more, and that's Alperen Şengün, who seems to be a favorite for a lot of individual scouts and experts out there. I know Rafael Barlow has him high on his list as possibly being the best international prospect at this time. And I'm on the fence between him or Giddey in regards to who is the best. Alperen Şengün is going to be someone who, if he succeeds, he's going to have to succeed as a small ball center. I think that maybe as a 4 at times, but I don't think he's going to be a space 4 per se. I think he's going to have to be your small ball 5, maybe coming off the bench, or even as your starting 5. I want to hear your thoughts on Alperen. Do you think he's going to be able to succeed at the next level as a small ball 5 that is going to be a mainstay there? I mean, his hustle and drive and his motor is not in question. I'm just thinking that his size issue may hold him back.
Yeah, so Şengün is pretty interesting. There's people that are either super high on him. I've seen him as high as like number 8 or 7 on people's big boards, and people that are really low on him as far as the late 20s, early 30s. And I seem to fall kind of more up towards the latter, just because I really do like Şengün. I like his play style. He's probably one of the most polished skill guys in this draft. He's just really good at what he does. But my issue with him is what he does is sort of outdated for today's game. The shooting, he has a really slow release, strong base, and it takes a long time for him to get that shot up. And some people buy him being able to shoot off the dribble. I don't. It's too slow. He has a great handle, but the problem is it's very slow, and I don't see how functional it's going to be in the NBA. He has he's probably the most skilled post guy in this draft too. Just a ton of great post moves. The footwork is great. The problem is it's all in the post. All of his game is predicated in the post. So it's very difficult to see what that value is, especially if you don't buy the spacing or anything. Defensively, he's okay as a rim protector, I think. Some people probably buy that more than I do. But he's a guy that you don't really want switching or coming outside of the paint, and that sort of hurts his value too, in my opinion. Bigs that aren't able to switch, you see the value of them. A guy like Bam Adebayo or Nick Claxton, guys who are kind of able to seamlessly switch onto guards and wings. That's something that's never really going to be in play with Şengün. But he's decent enough as a rim protector. He has good verticality. The wingspan is in question. There's different reports as to how big it actually is. I've seen anywhere from 6'10" to 7'2", so that'll be a big answer, hopefully, in the combine. But yeah, he's really good at what he does, but the problem for me is what he does doesn't really fit in today's mold of the NBA.
And that's something that has got to be in question with any of the big guys, and that's why it's become such a wing and guard heavy draft in regards to that, because there's a lot of issues with some of the big guys. I know that Greg Brown is only in the first round, in my opinion, because of his extreme athleticism. I'm not sure exactly what else he brings, but he brings extreme athleticism, and that's part of the deal. I mean, that's why he's still there as a big guy, and Kai Jones, and Kai Jones is supposed to be, could potentially be someone that could be, that shooting five from distance that can still do a lot of rim running. I'm not as sold on it as a lot of other people as far as the distance shooting is concerned. As a rim runner, absolutely, but again, we're seeing that take place where you can get someone that's 7 feet that can do those things probably a little bit later in the draft. If not, you can pick them up off the free agency market and do almost as well as that. I don't see any big men in this year's draft really able to go ahead and move the needle. And that's something I think that we're lacking on in this year's draft.
Yeah. I mean, Evan Mobley is probably the mainstay for most people.
Him notwithstanding, my apologies.
Yeah. I buy Kai Jones like a lot. I'm probably the biggest Kai Jones fan there is. I just really love his skill set. He shows a lot of flashes of being able to switch onto the perimeter. I buy the shooting as at least being a spot up guy. He'll never take anybody off the dribble or anything, but being a spot up guy, I buy the shot and the mechanics and everything.
Do you buy it all the way out to 3, or is it just going to be something that's going to be a 12 to 15 footer?
No, I buy him out to 3. I think it's going to be a project, though. It's not going to be there immediately. His rookie year or anything, maybe 2 or 3 years out down the line. I really like his shot blocking, his timing. He has really great timing on blocking shots. And I don't think he's really one of those guys that, like a Hassan Whiteside maybe, that tends to hunt shot blocking, where it sacrifices defense in other areas. And he has pretty good vision and handle for his size too. That's something that you don't really see with a lot of big guys, but he's able to kind of run the fast break and transition and do things that most big guys can't. So just that skill set alone is really intriguing to me. And the way I kind of view the draft is guys who have a lot of variables, who have a lot of paths to success, I tend to buy more than a guy who just has like sort of one path to success. And if that doesn't work out, then, kind of tough luck. So guys that have a lot of ways to be able to provide value to a team is something I look for. And with Kai Jones, I buy that.
With Evan Mobley, I agree with you that him, and then if you're saying Kai Jones as well, I'm just worried about how far can he stretch out. If he can stretch out, obviously he has the athleticism to succeed. And then after that, it's kind of dry as far as the big men are concerned, that really going to play a substantial amount or be effective, like we're seeing in the playoffs, where you can literally just play a big man off the floor if they're not able to go ahead and do the things that they need to on defense and offense. But Evan Mobley, I just wish I'd see more aggression from him. I know that during the course of the NCAA tournament, I know there were some issues and concerns. I think that had he been more aggressive, they could have had a better chance against Gonzaga in that first half. I know that's something that I was kind of down upon, but again, the talent's there and the ability to go ahead and do so many things. I agree with you on that. And the more that you're able to do, the higher you should go in the draft. But speaking of rising in the draft, before we head on out, I got to go ahead and ask you about some of your risers in the draft as far as is concerned. Some of the people that have caught your eye in recent weeks that you think maybe now that I give it a second chance, and of course with everybody that does drafts like you do, a third chance, a fourth chance, and so forth, that you see rising up on the charts as individuals that could be on NBA draft day, individuals that people need to keep an eye on?
Yeah, so for probably the top end of the draft, I've really risen on Scotty Barnes as of late. I went back and watched, like you said, a third, fourth time, some games on him. Pre-draft, I was really high on him. I had him top five, and I sort of felt faltered on that a bit throughout the season. But when I went back and looked, there's just a lot to like there. Generally, I value shooting a lot for a prospect. If you can't shoot, then I'm generally going to be lower on you as a prospect. But with Scotty Barnes, I kind of threw my philosophy out the window with that because he provides so much value in other areas. He has a really unique combination skill set of just being able to handle and pass the ball for at a really high level for a guy his size, and defend possibly 1 through 5 in the future, which is something that is also super valuable. He's super strong for his age too. He's already developed. He's got an NBA body that's ready to go. So there's just a lot to like with Scotty Barnes. He's athletic, but he uses his athleticism in ways other than just run and jump. There's a lot in the top end of the draft. A lot of top end teams, I think, are going to be looking at him. Guys towards sort of the middle of the draft, I'm really high on Jared Butler. There's some concerns I know with he has a heart condition, and that's why it took him to like the very last second to declare. So hopefully everything's okay with that stuff. Medicals at the combine will come out okay for him. But he's a guy who I think can provide both immediate value to a team and has some upside as well. He's got really elite handle. He's a strong guard. He's able to get his own shot, especially in isolation. One of the better isolation guards in this draft, I think. So I'm pretty high on Jared Butler relative to most people as well. And then towards the end of the draft, maybe more so in like the Lakers range, a guy I'm really high on, and I know a lot of people on like draft Twitter are high on, is Vrend Blindberg, another international guy who at 6'10 is able to handle and pass the ball. Again, just another unique archetype in combination that you don't really see too often. He's able to space the floor. Defensively is probably the biggest concern for him. But
his size, I mean, you talk about 6'10", but he has those, how shall I say very nicely, those Pokashevsky type of concerns, I think is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, he does. He's definitely very slim. I would probably not quite as slim as Pokashevsky because he's like very, very, very slim. But the thing with Vrens too is he was like 190 pounds or 170 pounds, excuse me, a couple years ago, and I think he's all the way up to like 210 now. So he's definitely gained a lot of muscle. So it leaves room for optimism in terms of his frame being able to bulk up even more than that. So that hopefully that'll play a part also in his defense, being able to kind of hold his own maybe against bigger guys, maybe some small ball fives or bigger fours, being a little bit more versatile on that end. But I really like him, and he probably goes in the second round maybe. But if I'm a team, I'm looking at him probably in the mid to late first.
There you go. Absolutely. Could be a Lakers pick. You never know, because we still have hopefully we still have our picks. So that's number 22, if I'm not mistaken. So we're hoping for some good things there at that pick, because I think the Lakers need to go ahead and fill out the back end of the roster. Regardless of what happens with the Lakers, that back end of the roster, I think, needs to be better filled with individuals that can provide different things for the team. And if it's a little bit of injection of youth for one of the oldest teams in the NBA, I don't think that's a bad thing, especially when you have a 20-year-old on your team. And if you have a 20-year-old team and you're still one of the oldest teams in the league, that means you kind of need to go ahead and put some more youth in there. But again, there's still so much to talk about when it comes to the NBA draft. And that's one thing I want to ask you, and I know a lot of Lakers fans out there want to ask you, is right now, I'm not going to go ahead and put your mock draft any lower than what people see right now, because again, they need to go ahead and check out DraftSide. You just got to try, just type it in there, draftside.com. Go to the NBA mock draft section. You'll see Stone Hansen's latest mock draft right there. And I'm just putting it 1 through 7, as you can see on the video screen. But, this takes us, and everybody will ask as far as for the Lakers right now. And, of course, that far low in the draft, my mock drafts, when I start putting them out there, and your mock drafts, as you continue to put them out there, are probably going to have a different individual each time when it gets to number 22. It's rare that somebody is going to stay at that position each and every time out. But I want to hear your thoughts on who the Lakers should target. I think at that point in time, you're just trying to get the best individual as possible if you're not thinking a trade, as the Lakers love to trade. But I know they can't trade the pick initially. They have to sit on it for a period of time, so they can't, quote unquote, trade that individual right away. They might actually keep the individual, and I think that they need to, in order to go ahead again to fill out that back end of the roster. But your thoughts on who the Lakers might be thinking of at number 22?
Yeah, this is a really deep draft. So the Lakers are in good position here to get someone pretty valuable, even though they're picking a little bit lower. So there's a plethora of names, honestly. Sharif Cooper is one. I really like Sharif Cooper. And
are you worried about his shooting? Because I sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more worried about his shooting than anybody else in this draft. He's got some awful. I don't think he succeeds shooting with his current mechanics. I think whatever team he goes to, the shooting coach is going to have to completely strip down his shooting motion and mechanics and build from the ground up, because at this point it's really rough. He's really undersized too. He's generously listed at 6 foot, but he's probably closer to like 5'10". But he has, like, apart from LaMelo Ball and maybe Luka Doncic, the most elite handle in passing that I've seen since I've started doing this in 2015. He really is an elite passer. He just sees things before they happen. He's able to get the ball to guys that a lot of other people just aren't even capable of making these types of passes. So someone like that, I think, could be really useful for the Lakers, especially when LeBron sits, or even when he's playing. It gives him another playmaker, so he's not always carrying that load. Another guy that could probably help the Lakers later on, he's dropped as of late, I'm not sure if he'll drop this far, would be Corey Kissbert. Obviously a sharpshooter. You know what he's going to bring. He's a one-trick pony, but what he does at an elite level, and that's being a shooter. Something the Lakers could obviously use next to LeBron and utilize. Someone that I like, as I've mentioned already, the two guys, Kai Jones and Jared Butler, kind of already have talked about them, but Jared Butler gives them another guard. I think the Lakers are probably going to target a guard in this draft, just because I think a lot is up in the air with Dennis Schroeder at this point. There's a lot of questions in that specific area for them, and I think being able to lock that down on a cost-controlled player for the next couple of years would benefit them. But if they do decide to go with a center as well, because they already have a lot of centers, but a lot of them could be leaving too, would be Kai Jones, someone that, when AD inevitably gets injured, can sort of fill that role, obviously to a lot lesser of a degree, but being able to at least just put some pressure on opposing opponents' rims, being able to defend outside of the paint more than, say, an Andre Drummond, who can give a little bit more rim protection. That's someone I think they could look at. And then two other last guys I would say would be Trey Murphy III, who's also sort of a sharpshooter like Corey Kissbert, but I think offers a little bit more defensive upside as well. He's a little bit different of a shooter as well. Kissbert is better off of movement, coming off of pin downs and curls, where Trey Murphy is able to navigate cuts. He's a better cutter, and he's able to navigate screens probably a little bit better as well. So between him and Chris Duarte, another shooter, who's also just going to fill that same role as the other two guys I mentioned.
But Duarte, he is 24, but he is going to be ready now. So any team that is going to get him, you're going to get him with not a high ceiling as far as it's concerned. You get him as he is now.
Yeah, Duarte's old, like super old. He's like, as you mentioned, he'll be 24, and he is going to fill that role immediately. Though I think Duarte is good in terms of just being an immediate impact guy. He's not a guy that I think will fall out of the league by the end of his rookie contract. He's going to be able to hold his value, I think. But you have to kind of know what you're getting into with Duarte. As you said, he has a limited ceiling. There's not a whole lot of untapped potential there with that. But he is going to fill that role from day one, right off the bat. So those are a few guys I would definitely look at for the Lakers. Good variety there, I think. There's a lot of guys in that back end of the draft that could be useful. It's just a matter of kind of what role the Lakers are looking to fill.
Once again, I'm speaking of Stone Hansen. He is the co-host of the Upside Swings podcast. You got to check him, Ryan Davis, and Bryce Hendricks out each week on the Roll Call Sports Network, wherever you get your podcasts, plus also his amazing drafts that he's got each and every time out when he updates his mock drafts at lines.com, right there for you. I always forget. I always say draft site. It's in the brain, but it's if you type in draft site, it's gonna migrate. Yeah, it's gonna migrate over to lines.com. So don't worry about that. It is lines.com. And I'll tell you what, my friend, it's been great having you here. I'm going to actually bring you on again as we get closer and closer to the draft. We still got to get together with Raphael and all the guys, Mikey V and all the guys to get together on another amazing mock draft. That would be awesome to get. But before we head on out, it's your turn. You got the floor. You got to go ahead and get a chance to plug anything you want. So I give you the floor, my friend, what you need people to check out when it concerns Stone Hansen.
So as you already said, I do my own podcast, UpsideSwings. You can find that on Twitter at UpsideSwings, and you can check out wherever you get your podcast. Will be there. Just breaking the draft down more in depth. We're doing a lot of prospect profiles right now where we break down individual players. It's really long and nuanced and in depth. So if you have an hour and a half to kill while you're doing something else, feel free to give us a listen. All my other work, lines.com, as Gerald mentioned, you can find that just at lines.com, and that has my mock draft for 2021, and I just put out a 2022 one as well. And then all my just solo individual work you can find at report_court on Twitter. I'll post all of it there. I have a big board hopefully coming out soon, and then a written piece as well coming out on the draft, hopefully within the next week or two. I have a lot of stuff coming up. I'm also doing a couple other guest podcasts, draft related as well. So everything I do, you can just find all of it at report_court.
There you go. Got to follow him on Twitter. He needs 1,000. He's on his way there. He said he needs 1,000 by the NBA draft, and gosh darn it, we need to give him a hand on that. So please support him today at report_court. It is my good friend, Mr. Stone Hansen, a fellow Lakers fan. We'll see what happens with the Lakers, my friend. But you are here as part of the 300th episode extravaganza. I cannot appreciate you enough and thank you enough for stopping by with your knowledge on the NBA draft. I know, again, it has always, for me, been a pleasure having you on now. Well over a year you've been stuck with me, so we'll wait and see if you can go ahead and handle more episodes with me, but I'm definitely glad to have you here. Thank you so much to Jamie and Albert for the thumbs up on Facebook. It is truly appreciated, and thanks everybody for watching, and for everybody out there that's listening, we truly appreciate it as well. Once again, please support Stone Hansen today at lines.com. That's lines.com right there for you, plus also as well his awesome show Upside Swings. Please go ahead and check that wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Stone, it's been amazing having you here. Fellow Lakers fan, we're keeping our fingers crossed for the future of the Lakers franchise, and I cannot thank you enough. And, of course, before the NBA draft hits, you got to come back on right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.